Hello, I'm Ghost, your host with the most, and I gotta tell you, I'm quite the diva, yeah. Today I'm talking about a weird film, one that's not necessarily a horror film, like, say, Traces of Death was or something, but it is a documentary, a shockumentary, as people like to call it. Orozco the Embalmer is a shockumentary directed by Kiyotaka Tsuraki, which is a death photographer. Death photographers specialize in photographing death. I know that may come as a shock to many of you. And I've actually enjoyed his work for quite some time. Released in 2001, Orozco the Embalmer is to put it lightly, controversial documentary due to its unflinching depiction of death. In order to make this documentary, Kiyotaka traveled to Colombia. What's interesting about Orozco the Embalmer is that unlike other shockumentaries that specialize in depicting real death, its main focus isn't the death, it's the process of embalming. We follow Orozco along with a few of his peers, embalming corpses, preparing them for funerals, emptying them of their guts and prettying them up enough to make them at least presentable. And watching them talk so casually about death and stuff is where I think that Orozco actually succeeds in doing something that things like Traces of Death can only dream of doing, which is genuinely making you think about death in a way you haven't before, maybe. While you can always say, like, oh, life doesn't matter and all that nihilistic shit, watching something like Orozco definitely gets you thinking. Because in the area where it was filmed, in Colombia, it was a very dangerous area, and still is. And seeing some dead body, a victim of some violent crime, just lying on the side of the streets wasn't particularly abnormal. So, seeing these guys who make a living off of, cutting open corpses day in, day out, non-stop, is genuinely really interesting, and the fact that they seem so numb to it. The thing is that I suppose that different cultures definitely make different people feel certain ways about death, wherein, like Germany or America, death is this big significant thing. In more dangerous places, it's just another part of life, and you can see kids playing on a playground not far from a corpse. Everyone's just totally desensitized. Now, I'm not going to comment on, this is a horrible thing about our society, we need to stop it. It's not really my place to talk about that, I don't think. I don't think I'm qualified to tell you all that much about the real world, but I am qualified, I think, to talk to you a little bit about this documentary. One that, unlike many in the extreme cinema scene, I find to be genuinely a well-crafted, interesting, and worthwhile watch. Orozco the Embalmer is a film that won't leave my mind, not because of its unflinching portrayal of death, but just because of the glimpse into a culture that I had no proper experience with prior to watching the documentary, being so real and interesting. One thing that somehow always shocks me is that at the end of the movie, all following this horrible, violent situation, we actually hear that Orozco dies. Our main focus passes away during the making of the documentary. Orozco had something happen to, I believe it was his gut or his stomach, and he was told to take it easy for a little while. However, Orozco did not, and he went to the hospital again and died there. And unfortunately, in what is arguably the most powerful moment of the film, Orozco's body was not given a proper burial or anything of the sort, and he apparently wasn't even embalmed. And this guy who embalms I believe it was like 50,000 bodies not even receiving the treatment he gave to so many other people is genuinely just kind of devastating in a way. I feel like embalmers are kind of unsung heroes, I suppose. Not that necessarily everyone should have an open casket funeral, but for those who want to be able to have that goodbye with their loved ones, they really do kind of do an important and special thing. Orozco the Embalmer is a powerful documentary and a moving experience, which is not something I say lightly. Well, I'm not going to go around saying that it's some 5-star perfect documentary. It's one where I have to say that even if you're not particularly involved in the extreme cinema scene that I so very love, I think that it's genuinely worth the watch. It'll make you think, and I think that that's very important. Orozco the Embalmer is a 2001 shockumentary, and it's an example of what shockumentaries should be. Not a shitty slideshow of death with some guy narrating mockingly over it, but something that genuinely portrays death in an unflinching manner to make a point. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little shorter than usual, and I do apologize for that, but next week's video is especially long. But I've wanted to say something about Orozco for quite some time, and I just haven't known how to put it. I hope that maybe you're a little intrigued. Maybe you'll watch the film, I don't know. That would be great. I'd love to bring some more eyes to it. It's not for the faint of heart, but unlike with other films, I think that you should watch it anyway. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.